Hey, I'm Jesse. Let's have a devotion. Look at Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. This is a familiar story. When Daniel learned that the document had been signed, he went into his house. The windows in his upstairs room opened toward Jerusalem, and 3 times a day he got down on his knees, prayed, and gave thanks to his God, just as he had done before. All right, this was a common practice for prayer. This was established by Solomon. It was reified by David. Daniel is just praying the way he has always prayed. Sometimes he comes under scrutiny, I think unfairly, for making a big public deal about his prayer. But it's very clear as the story goes on that Daniel was righteous in all that he did, and God was just looking after him. He was just praying how he prays. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel petitioning and imploring his God. So they approached the king and asked about his edict. Didn't you sign an edict that for 30 days, any person who petitions any god or man except you, the king, will be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, as the law of Medes and Persians, the order stands and is irrevocable. Then they replied to the king, Daniel, one of the Judean exiles, has ignored you, the king, and the edict you signed, for he prays 3 times a day. Shocking. As soon as the king heard this, he was very displeased. He set his mind on rescuing Daniel and made every effort until sundown to deliver him. Then these men went together to the king and said to him, You know, your majesty, that it is a law of the Medes and Persians that no edict or ordinance the king establishes can be changed. So the king doesn't want to do this to Daniel, but his nobles keep doubling down on him, and he keeps having to triple down on this murderous edict. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, May your God, whom you continually serve, rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signet rings of his nobles, so that nothing in regard to Daniel could be changed. Then the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting. No diversions were brought to him, and he could not sleep. All right, so the king is between a rock and a hard place. But Daniel is right to defy this edict. This is a theme in Esther. It's a theme in the story of Daniel. It's a theme in the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they all seem to revolve around the Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire. There's this storied history of the Medo-Persians trying to defy the people of God, and the people of God worshiping nonetheless, and then God looking after his people, and in this case, quite miraculously. In the story of Daniel in the lion's den, which we'll continue tomorrow. But I just want to encourage you, Seattle Christian, to remember this legacy of godly defiance carried out by Daniel, carried out by Esther, by Mordecai, by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They defied the Medo-Persian Empire, and God always looked after his people, and he will look after you too. Amen.